Thanks for having me today. And, you know, the definition of a true friend is someone who knows all your faults and likes you anyway. And Speaker, I know that's definitely you. So I'm here, and frankly, as I do my work on the floor of the U.S. House of Representatives every day, I use the lessons learned from then my chairman, Hal, when we were in committee together. And the recognition you honor me with today, frankly, is testament to the fact that I actually listened to my teacher, now Speaker Hal. So and I do want to recognize the First Lady of the House of Delegates, Ceci Howell, who's here with the Speaker, and the other Virginians who I see at the table. It's a great honor for me. So. But thank you very much for this honor. I am honored to be here and to receive this award. You know, to win the Thomas Jefferson Award, especially for a Virginian, is a great honor. When President Obama won the Nobel Peace Prize after a few months in office, he acknowledged it was premature. But when it comes to an award associated with Mr. Jefferson, every winner, even after decades of public service, would have to say it was premature. So I accept it as a huge challenge to live up to in the future. I want to take a moment to join you in reminiscing about what we heard, perhaps, around the Thanksgiving dinner table. I know at the dinner table I was at, there was plenty of good cheer and good food. But I was struck by the palpable lack of optimism about our nation's future. Instead of looking forward, I heard people talking about the past. Remember how good it used to be? It's not that the folks that I was with believe that we can't get back to those days, but there is a fear and insecurity about the future, not just their own, but also for their neighbors and their friends. Nearly everyone that I was with knew someone who'd lost a job, or they knew someone who was worrying about paying for college tuition next semester. We all know somebody who has said, you know what, I'm not going to be able to retire as soon as I had thought. Clearly, everyone in this country feels that we are in need of some help. But here in Washington, President Obama, Speaker Pelosi, have spent the last 11 months and considerable political capital pushing an agenda that is out of step with this reality. Frankly, we should have spent every hour of every month working to get people back to their jobs. Instead, many leaders here in Washington seem to have pursued a go-it-alone strategy that is expanding the reach of government, increasing the deficit, and borrowing even more money from foreign countries. The President and the Democratic majority have the right to chart their course. They have all the power. But ignoring the realities of today's economy and the needs of working families and small businesses only exacerbates the economic challenges that we face. Thomas Jefferson understood that in times like this, we need leaders who can lead. Like all Americans, I grew up studying President Jefferson as a great American hero. As a Virginian, growing up in the shadow of his boyhood home and traveling often to Charlottesville, where my son attends Mr. Jefferson's University, I, along with my fellow residents of the Commonwealth, bear the obligation of his legacy. So Mr. Jefferson is never far from my mind. As we go about the people's business together, let me share three aspects of Mr. Jefferson's life that we may want to emulate. First, Jefferson was one who could turn personal weakness into strength. It has been written that Jefferson had a squeaky, high-pitched voice and lisp, a bit hard to imagine in today's TV-centric age. but because he couldn't speak, he devoted himself to writing extraordinarily well. He was often called the silent legislator, but his words changed history for the whole planet. You could say his weakness was the doorway to his legacy, and perhaps we can view our own shortcomings in that same way. Second, Mr. Jefferson approached life with a great zest for joy. One of the surviving comments that we have from his Albemarle County neighbors was that whenever you saw Thomas Jefferson on horseback or walking out of doors, he was singing. Imagine that. He saw life as a song. No wonder people were drawn to him as a leader. He offered them beautiful enthusiasm all the time. Third, Jefferson focused on making his vision for this country a reality. His father, Peter, was among other things a mapmaker. In Jefferson's one-room schoolhouse, his teacher used to love to talk about the somewhat mythical Missouri River that might lead to the Pacific. That dream became the Lewis and Clark expedition and the Louisiana Purchase. As a young man, Jefferson used to ride horseback with a school friend to a beautiful little mountain on the edge of the Blue Ridge that was such a favorite that he and his friend called it Tom's Mountain. It became Monticello, where Jefferson and his friend are both buried in obedience to a 60-year-old promise. In law school, it was Jefferson's math teacher who introduced him to the great ideas of Locke and the great European philosophers. Their bold ideas and ringing phrases became the raw material of the Declaration of Independence, one of a small handful of the most important documents in human history. Mr. Jefferson's life example illustrates and encourages us to look into our own hearts and minds and see what lies there. That with character, enthusiasm, and a sense of destiny, we should and could strive to move history forward as he did. In these times, we can also take great inspiration from yet another Virginian and great American, George Washington. In early December 1776, the future of this fledgling nation could not have been more bleak. The Revolutionary War had been little more than a series of strategic retreats and narrow escapes by the Continental Army. Philadelphia, the capital, had to be emptied as the superior British forces chased Washington south. And then came the Battle of Trenton. A segment of Washington's army surprised the Hessians, the British mercenaries, who had decided, like the rest of Britain's army, to take the winter off from fighting. It was a battle of small military significance, but it held a huge, enormous psychological effect for the colonies. It gave them confidence in a new tactic and hope to persevere against enormous odds.